Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you a discussion about the flavor of armies, and specifically Tyranids, of course. But there has been a lot of thoughts I've had, and a couple of comments that you all have made that have made me think about other things. And there's a lot of things, and I think that it'll best be wrapped up in this video instead of probably doing the smart thing and making each comment focus a different video. Probably stretch this out for 2 3 weeks maybe. But I don't know, I feel like putting everything here makes a little bit more sense right now. I imagine this is going to be a longer video. You can see how long the videos are when you click them, and I'll see it in editing. um, but yeah, so we'll see. There's not too many tabs right now, but that probably will change. I will be jumping around. But the flavor. I Man, where do I start? I've tried to start this in several ways. Um, I really don't know. So I think I'll go a little bit backwards. There was a comment by Wolf 58th that talked about the number of models in a release wave. And I was like, damn, I don't think anybody in my comment section has brought that up, really. I think a lot of us were content with the fact that we got, refresh, and we just got hyper adapted Ravs and, all that shit, right? And we got new models, right? We were launch faction. So that was cool. But Wolf 58th was, generous enough, I guess is the term, to acknowledge that that was a conversation being continued from what they saw on Morty and Glory. And that made me realize, man, I haven't seen a Morty and Glory video pop up in my feed for a second here. And I was watching this one, 11th edition rumors and whatnot. And I've been talking a lot about things that I would like to see in 11th edition. And what Morty and Glory says in here really stuck with me because I realized that's the thing that I am finally agreeing with. It's not like I ever denied it. Like, I didn't. People that said this thing, I didn't think, like, no, you're wrong. But it just wasn't at the forefront of my mind too much, and I think I've reached that point in 10th edition as well, where there's a lot of flavor that's missing. And I want the flavor to come back. For instance, I really harped on about how Synapse does fucking nothing. I'm glad that it doesn't mean that you die outside of it that anymore. That's cool. Love that. Um, but I wish it did things. And this is a comment that was from Kendolph Longbeard that made me realize why I tried so hard to keep coming back to Synaptic Nexus. Okay, let's pull up Synaptic Nexus. Boom, boom, boom. The Synaptic Imperatives. And funny enough, I've made a video putting two and two together without putting two and two together. For example, I just did a thing, like a small tweak I would like to see if we were to continue having this set of rules into 11th edition and the upcoming Balanced Data Slate. I would like to see Surging Vitality, instead of being +1 to advance and charge rolls. I would like to see Synapse as an army rule +2 to movement within Synapse. And lo and behold, we've already had that. We've had that with Synaptic Imperative. So it was Kendolph that Longbeard, just in case I cut off at the weird point, that mentioned that Synaptic Nexus was the closest to these synaptic imperatives, which like is straight up true. And the like 1-to-1 is like I talked about just boosting Turvy and boosting the army rule and surging vitality somewhere, completely forgetting it's in fucking Synaptic Nexus. Like same thing, goaded to slaughter. Synaptic augmentation is not uh, psychic augmentation. There we go. Goaded to slaughter. Like it's here. And I've been very upset about how this is gone. Like the flavor of Synapse doing a thing is gone, and going to the detachments in a second. That's kind of where I'm of two minds. Before I go too much on like GW's ass some more, I do have to admit, I really like what they did with the codex. It was something new, it was cute. I did really enjoy the fact that they said the detachments are the stages of the invasion. I did prefer that more than here's your high fleet. Because my high fleet isn't high fleet Gorgon, right? This is my high fleet. Um, but I love high fleet Gorgon from 9th. Like, that's the one I like. I didn't really like the color scheme of Gorgon, I'll tell you that much. So, like, again, like, that's what I like out of it. And I like the new system where the new idea. I don't love the keyword system. I have finally come to terms that I kind of fucking hate the keywords, how they were implemented per se. I kind of hate that. But I do like that they said, yeah, first you have the vanguards coming in, then it could be an unending swarm or crusher stampede, invasion fleet, synaptic nexus, assimilation swarm to round things off. Right? That's cool. Subterranean assault should probably worry about for more like those didn't follow the same thing. But of the codex ones, I really liked what they did here. That was pretty neat. Now, here's the other thing where I also have talked about the fact that I didn't expect to become a person that really misses the old shit. Didn't really think that that would be a thing that I would do. However, I think that's where we are, right? I think that's where I am as far as moving forward, I guess, right? Like I'm not going to sit here and say that 10th is all that bad. In fact, I really do think that 10th did a lot of good work, lot of good groundwork. The overhauls, everything's not everything, but a lot of things are simpler. Okay, but I also do want to talk about this other thing that Stone Chewer brought up that they were finding in their games playing on TTS recently, and it's something I've also talked about. Is like, yeah, you can't just make your shit better as a Xenos as much, right? And I think that's another thing that when GW was designing 10th and Tyranids and these factions, that they stripped a lot of things away. So you're left with bare bones because a lot of things got out of hand at certain points, as people would tell you, right? Uh, Crusher Stampede, Tyranids of Ninth induces fear in some people. They still have trauma from that, right? But it's from Stone Chewer's comment that I also want to talk about the war gear that we had, and this is these several of these are references to things that people have been talking about in comments, in my comments at least. I can't vouch for everybody's comments, right? Uh, for the entire time I've been doing Tyranids 10th edition content on this channel. And it really goes to show how much of a difference it makes when you take a faction that no longer has synaptic imperatives, or specifically Tyranids, okay? You take a faction that no longer has the ability to give 2 inch to the move characteristic around it, sustained within 6 inches around it, and you didn't standardize the things in the way that you've been trying to standardize like a lot of 40k. Where, for example, adrenal glands. This could go on this slew of stuff. But that gave them +1 to move and +1 to strength, which is a thing that I'm like, hey, I would like to see Synapse give you movement. I think a lot of our shit would be solved if we had more movement. Yeah, we don't need to necessarily be uh, tougher, because GW clearly wants to stray away from that. And at a certain point, I do think it would be weird if a Malice Scepter is T12 and Chaos Knight is T11. That might be kind of weird. But then I look at the Great Unclean one and go, fuck it, right? But then there's also enhanced senses. We've been talking about the Carnifexes. At least I have. all edition, whereas like they feel fucking useless without old one eye. I think we can all agree on that part. And a lot of it because GW and everybody was used to enhanced senses being on the Carnifex, so you make them, hit on fours now for whatever reason, but there's no way to make them hit on threes. But rerolls essentially, mathematically, balances out to being plus one to hit, more or less, right? So that's where you get them going to hitting on threes in air quotes. But now I don't have a reason to take a Carnifex and it's lonesome, and the Carnifex, Tyranid Warriors, Gaunts, and Spores are kind of like integral to a Tyranid invasion. Now, and this comes from me having the conversation about Spore Mines and like, whatever, it's, I don't feel like nuking the Biovore personally. But to the rest of it, it's like, I think another part of it is because I want things that are main identity stage of factions to come in, and that's also where I want to talk about some other people's roughly, but like some longer term veterans to 40k to Tyranids than I. Like a lot of them remember Tyranids being faster, and as I've just pointed out, between adrenal glands, you have extended carapace. A lot of Trigon used to have the ability that Subterranean Assault has now, and that leads me to another thing. Like, I before I go to that, let me wrap up that thought. I'm, getting passionate, I guess. Uh, I want my bugs to be an unending, surprising horror of monstrosities, right? But but I like the fact that for some odd reason, these aliens can't be reasoned with. They've shut off the psychic world, and there's a lot of them coming for you right now. And some of them are big as fuck. I like that. But then I look at the number of units that we can really put into a list realistically, and then I look over at Admech, I look at Orcs, I look at Sisters, I look at all this other shit, and I'm like, I look at Guard. Now again, Guard is also known for that too. But I'm just like, well, what the fuck? Why can't I fit more shit in my shit that like does meaningful shit? Uh, that's the other part where it's like I want shit that's cheap enough to do all this shit. But wrapping up the like what has been lost, if you take away characteristic modifications, like you've stripped all the Wargear, you've stripped all the things to do in Synapse, and you didn't make it so that you can still do shit outside of a thing that they just had a problem with index detachments overall. They put all the good rules in the index and said, "Here's your army rule." And I don't think that GW really planned for that, right? You look at it, Death Guard is again the example that I'll keep driving home, because it never made sense that all the plagues change in this one detachment, but the overall army rule is -1 toughness. That didn't really make sense. It should be the other way around there. And they kind of fixed it. They just said, here's -1 toughness and pick another one. Why the fuck they did that? I don't really know, but I'm over here looking at my data sheets that don't have sustained hits on them, lethal hits on them, in the vast majority, because I know there's going to be somebody that's like, actually, monster, we got sustained hits on the hyper-adapted Raveners and the Warriors. Suck a dick. And I'm just like, hey, I need you to name more than that, right? Or lethal hits, where we don't have that outside of like here. And then assimilation swarm on a single thing, a single stratagem. Or they realize that SpaghettiOs, we really didn't put that anywhere. Here's the Hive Tyrant, has lethals now. Like, I hate that design of it, and they are realizing that. GW's kind of realizing that, because they're going back and fixing all of these fucking codexes with the army rules. You look at Thousand Suns, also, they now just have the fucking psychic phase. Because everybody's looking like, hey, you released this utter dog shit Grotmus detachment. Because why would I ever play this compared to possibly getting devastating wounds from my psychic attacks. Why the fuck would I do this? I either turn off Magnus or turn off Magnus, like what, or turn off Araman too. Like it was a clusterfuck of unfucking the rules, and they're making progress, I think. But as I've been playing catch up, I look over and I go, yeah, look at what they did for Votan, right? I guess. Chaos Knights turned out cool. Space Wolves looks cool too. Black Templars I'm hearing is good too. Then I look at Grey Knights and I'm like, I don't get it. I don't think I get it yet. But hey, that's just me not being familiar with those factions too. If you're a Grey Knights player that stumbled in here and you're gonna be like, hey, Grey Knights is my second army, or Tyranids is my second army, I'm Grey Knights player first. It's amazing. Please let me know. But I say this all to like round back to the topic at hand of flavor. I want flavor back. I do think I've reached that point where I want flavor on shit also. And going to the Trigon thing before I forget that. The Trigon thing that we in our speed and having that as a rule now going to Subterranean Assault, let's pull that up, right? Tunnels, yada yada yada. Cool. It was Clono 90 that reminded me that the fucking Tyrannocyte exists. And, I know I've covered it 3, 4 times this year, uh, in some capacity, but even I still forget that the fucking egg exists. And this is what this entire detachment. I know I said, hey, this is just if you give Tyranids transports. If you just give Tyranids transports, we can play the game. Like, this is again a Tyrannocyte is again another thing that's core to like all of the art that you see. Tyrannocytes fucking falling, spore mines fucking falling, gods carpeting the shit, spores in the air. Make them usable. If you rewrite the Tyrannocyte to just say, make it so that one Tyranid unit is in it as the transport capacity, we have real-time example of what that looks like. Because Subterranean Assault just says, hey, you could take some burrowers, and as long as they're 6 inches away from the enemy, here's your thing. Cool. Like, that we see what would happen if you just rewrite something as simple as the Tyrannocyte to say, put a Tyranid unit into an egg. I will pay 105 points for that. Or I could take some snakes and do that a couple of times and it'd be cool. Realistically, how many times do I need to come in from reserves, right? All of this shit. Um, and that's where it comes to like the basic things that are missing. Further, so you took away all of this that made the faction interesting, in my opinion. You took away all of this shit because you're not doing Wargear anymore, but you didn't really look at the data sheets and go, well, if we take it away, I guess current effects is hidden on 4s would kind of fucking suck, huh? Um, like, hello. But then, also, right? And again, this wasn't supposed to be a rant. I promise it wasn't. But I do want the flavor back across the board because while I do give them applause for what they did of the stages of the invasion being our detachments, I really love that. I want them to be our rules. I want them to be fairly unique. I understand when you make it watered down, somebody can come from another faction and understand the idea behind it. But yeah, Invasion Fleet, lethals, sustain, precision, that's cool. If I was playing Chaos, I'd be like, oh, so I don't have to take morale. I just choose if I want sustained all game. Or, sorry, leadership test. I just choose if I'd want to do sustain or lethal all game. But, even further past that, I look at Crusher Stampede. Why does Crusher Stampede and Hollowed Martyrs have the same thing? I look at Assimilation Swarm and I go, oh, it's like if I'm playing Necrons but not playing Necrons. I look at fucking Warrior Bioform Onslaught and Unending Swarm and I go, oh, this would be like if I was playing Crude Hunting Pack or Green Tide. Thankfully, Unending Swarm, though, to its favor, though, it has a surge move. But then I look over at Blood Legion or whatever the hell the one is, right? So I wish that it was a little bit more unique in design. Like, yeah, there was other things you could do for Monster Mash. Instead of hit a monster, it gets angry. Realistically, and I did lose this comment. I'm just now thinking about it, so I'm sorry if you're watching this and I lost your comment. And you said this and I lost the comment. But I'm glad I'm not the only one that thought that the rule for Unending Swarm should be on Crusher Stampede. I think I've put that in the video. I don't remember if I've scrapped it or not, right? If I'm hitting a monster and you tell me it's enraged and just gets a little angry, yeah, it should be surging towards that place. That undoes the problem that we had, and while we were playing Crusher Stampede, is I want to put monsters through walls because they need to get places. That should be over there. Meanwhile, if the Unending Swarm is getting hit and it's below starting strength or below half strength, yeah, there should be bonuses there. I think they should be flipped. That's just me. Well, not just me, but at least Crusher Stampede is I'm not alone with. But that should be a flip. But past all of this, right? Past all of this, I do miss. Not even miss because it has been present. But I do want an unspoken unifying thing out of Tyranids that isn't tied to an army rule, that isn't tied to a detachment rule. And what do I mean by that? Well, we're going to do one of. Yeah, we'll do it here. Uh, I want. Nah, I guess I don't have to click. For example, Sisters, Custodes, Grey Knights, Chaos Demons. I guess to an extent, both of the Knights, right? What do they all have in common? I'll give it a second. 3, 2, 1. They all have an invulnerable save. Like, they just straight up have an invulnerable save on all of their shit. Right? It doesn't say, here's your army rule, invulnerable save of X, Y, and Z. Because it doesn't have to be that. Right? You look at Admech and Drukari. They both have anti on a lot of their weapons. I talk about Nurgle all the time having the unifying thing of Nurgle having lethal on a lot of shit. And then you look at Emperor's Children, there's a lot of shit there that I don't know. At first I was like sustained, but that might be just the fact that they wrote that 15 million times in the detachments. Don't know why they did that. Right? You look at Thousand Suns, Grey Knight, Sprinkle Assault. The intent was Grey Knights and Thousand Suns have a lot of psychic, but also GW did fuck all with psychic this edition. It was so weird. They were just like, yeah, what if we just make it only a downside? Really, like I don't know what they were doing there. You look at the cost. I think I said it in this take, but AdMech, Orcs, all this shit, tons of shit. Astro Militarum, tons of shit. The things that should also have tons of shit don't have tons of shit. Uh, what else did I have on my list here? Durability. Oh, Deep Strike. Like GSC, Custodes, Grey Knights, Demons. I have Deep Strike on damn near all of their data sheets. It doesn't say, hey, here's your rule. All your things have Deep Strike. It's just there. So I wish there was more of a unifying thing that, hey, Tyranids, a lot of your profiles have Twin Linked, has sustained, not the Orcs way of it, right? Where Warhorde is the de facto. Well, everybody's playing golfs anyway, right? So here's your sustained because if Orcs get lucky, they got lucky, right? But I do miss that flavor aspect of it. I do want that flavor aspect of it, where there's a thing where I'm looking at it, like, yeah, I know that I'm playing Tyranids, so before I look down at my data sheet, there's a chance that it has, I don't, scout. Nah, an entire army scouting might be a lot. But you have armies that, and I'm not saying you have to be an elite army. I'm not saying that every army needs to be elite. Again, GSE all has Deep Strike, not an elite army. Sisters all has invulnerable saves, not an elite army. Or at least, not really anymore. Kinda, no. Well, that one's kind of funky, I guess. The things like that where there should be something that every faction has that almost every data sheet has, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that a Brew Lord and an Exocrine do the exact same job. I don't want that to be misconstrued. But I do think it is weird that a faction that is hungry and trying to get the job done, I think it wouldn't be the weirdest thing for everything to be twin linked. Especially when you look at what the weapons are. The weapons, you're shooting living ammo. Like, these are parasites and things. Like, a flesh borer is a beetle that goes inside somebody and makes sure that the job gets done. So, I think there should be some better wounding if I'm hitting you with this living ammo. That's the kind of things that I mean. Whereas, like, and that's, I'm not saying that I would be sold on twin linked. I'm not saying that either. Just a thing that you've thrown into the game that would be nice across the board. It would just be nice there. And going more to the things that's been taken away, right? I was really racking my brain for a while on what the fuck Tusk even did. I could not remember it, right? And then I was just like, okay, Horn Chitin, what the fuck did that do again? So we're going to do a little Control F. We're going to do Horn. Oh, I already had it up. My bad. Sorry for the ding. But Horned Chitin, trampling charge, right? Use this stratagem in your charge phase. When a hive tendril monster model from your army finishes a charge move, select one enemy unit within engagement range of that monster. It's fucking tank shock. So we don't have tank shock. We don't have grenades. We just got smoke on the psychophage, even though a lot of our shit has smoke vents. Like, and I'm not saying that everything should be putting out smoke, because then you do invalidate something like the Venom Thrope or something, kind of. But do you? Do you? I will give GW another piece of credit, where I like that they've been leaning towards things doing things for free. So it would be nice if we continue that being a unique thing among us. I would really love it if we continue down this road of, yeah, hyper adaptive Raveners can rapid ingress or heroic intervention for free. Lictors can rapid ingress for free. You have, fuck, what was my other one? Von Ryan's Leapers. How could I forget VRLs? Sorry, my VRLs. You have them that can heroic for free. If you're not going to make it so that all of our shit can do shit, it would be nice if you were like, alright, and a Carnifex can use the tank shock stratagem, even though it's a monster, for free. That would be really cool if you designed it that way. And I think this was a, at the risk of misidentifying where this comment was, I'm pretty sure it was Commander Neo, but there was discussion about grenades and giving us grenades either from, like, previously being like, if we have flesh hooks, we should be able to have grenades. Now, flesh hooks did this, right? This was something completely different. But you can't tell me a flesh hook or a toxin sac or a spore cyst can't look like a grenade and become a grenade. Pretty sure it was Commander Neo that was saying along the lines of, would prefer to have a unit that did grenades versus the entire faction having grenades. And at first, I think I disagreed with that. But that would be a really cool design philosophy for Tyranids moving forward if they expanded down that. Whereas, like, the Warriors, right? The Warriors. If the Warriors had grenades, they could do it for free. That would be really cool. Warriors do it for free. Carnifex's Tank Shock for free. Von Ryan's Leaper's Heroic Intervention for free. Psychophage pop smoke for free. Or Venom Thropes. Hey, everything around you can pop smoke for free. I mean, actually, that's like significantly worse. Scratch that one. But, you know, like Psychophage, it has smoke now. And one of the things that I've talked about is, but you've nerfed my Hive Tyrant. And I don't have captains that join units to reduce the stratagem cost. And as we see with the win rates, that kind of fucked over Space Marines too. Uh, Not the game Space Marines also. But you've done that like change, and for some reason you have to keep it 1-to-1. Tyranids can't have something that Space Marines don't, right? You made it so that, hey, Calgar Gilliman, cut that out. Tyranids, hey, stop doing that with your Hive Tyrant. Because we're putting your rule on every Demon Prince. Almost every Demon Prince. Like half of them at least. Whatever. Uh, but now I don't have the command points, in my opinion, to give a damn about, one, the Psychophage costs too much. Two, I don't give a damn about popping smoke on the Psychophage because I have other shit to do. So it would be nice if the Psychophage got smoke, but also had, hey, do it for free. Once per turn, do it for free. It would be nice if we continue down that path of design over here. And just talking again about flavor, like, yeah, stages, make them unique. But I also don't want to see Invasion Fleet again. Alright? I don't want to see it again because I want to see these things go on to datasheets. They realize that a bit, they put it on the hyper adapted Ravs. Cool. Give them sustained. I would like more things in the faction that adapts to killing its opponent to have lethal hits. Outside of being 6 inches within a Hive Tyrant. Even though a Hive Tyrant does show up for a good number of battles, it is kind of ridiculous that you expect a Hive Tyrant to be in almost every lift to achieve that. To achieve the lethality. And let's talk about lethal hits and sustain. Like, you still have to roll the 6. If you don't roll the 6, like, nothing happens, right? But you did put precision on a bunch of our shit. On a bunch of our Vanguard Invader units. And that's the other thing that, looking at, while I was talking about things I would like the Lictor, like the free shit, a lot of this utility comes down to the Vanguard Invader units. I was like, man, that's our infiltrator, that's our stealth, that's our free things. Like, be nice if I do like this brand of thing. And I'm going to talk again about another channel that, I didn't plan to put it on here at first, but like, I was remiss about the Psychophage. I think the Psychophage catching a change from no longer doing Feel No Pain aura got a lot of us for a loop. Is that safe to say? But I was trying to catch up on the things that I've missed, like the Votann Codex, and I was listening to Art of War, read the Codex. And Jack said something along the lines that I didn't pay attention to, about how there was a Votann character that gives Feel No Pain, even though they've been removing that across the board, looking at Psychophage, looking at World Eaters, and there was one other example that he gave. He didn't give the Psychophage, but like, thinking about that, I was like, yeah, GW is removing that. But what do I have to say about that with Vanguard Invader units? Am I saying that they should get Feel No Pain? No. But I am saying that it is kind of interesting that Orcs, Beast, Snagga, yes, I will slow that down because, funny enough, I thought that was kind of a funny hee hee ha ha that you could get in YouTube trouble. I did look at one of my videos that I talked about them a lot, and it did say, hey, I don't know what you said, but you're getting pretty close there. Even though, well, we're not going to get into that. Either way, all of them have a Feel No Pain. And that makes sense. And then Orcs, again, you're looking at an Orc, T5 at least. Not the Gretchen, an Orc, right? The boys, knobs, and beyond, is at least T5. You know that. That's the Orc thing. You look at the Eldar, you know that they're looking a little rough on that toughness, okay? But you know that they're fast, so their movement starts at... Does their movement start at 8 before I throw that out there? Starts at least 6, right? Except for the support weapons or whatever the fuck. Anywho, there's a thing there. So it'd be nice if the Vanguard Invader units, if we treated keywords in that sense where they have a unique identifying thing on their datasheet as well as being put into whatever detachment to make them usable, right? I go to Vanguard Onslaught. It'd be nice if all of my Vanguard invaders that are all known to have, if they all had stealth, if every single one had stealth, there you go. And I can hear you saying right now, but Monster, that would be kind of broken if every Vanguard invader had stealth, right? No, because they all did, more or less. Yeah, the Leapers, Raveners, like all this shit getting here. The new things getting here, of course not, right? But the Harpy and the Hive Crone had hard to hit. Let's go here. And fuck it, let's yeah. Let's alright, cool. Got a little bit worried there because lately Wahapedia has been asking questions when it pops up. But they had hard to hit. Each time a ranged attack is made against this model, subtract one from the attack's hit roll. Okay, they had hard to hit, and then you look at the Trigon and the Moloch, which had and the Raveners had Serpentine Coils. Each time a melee attack, -1 to hit, and they could deep strike. So if the thing that like was just on Vanguard invaders was -1 to hit, that'd be pretty cool. Now is it? Could GW turn this around and Vanguard Onslaught, Serpentine Body, whatever the fuck they changed the name to, -1 hit? They could do that, and then full disclosure, probably would slide to playing more Vanguard Onslaught out of all of the detachments. In my opinion, I would. Right, that's personal. But at the same time, I don't love the keyword system and how it's been implemented. I do think some of the things that are flavor, coming down a little bit, I do think that the flavor of some factions, their core units, should be kind of rainbow units. I want warriors to benefit in every detachment because warriors and gaunts show up in every Tyranid invasion. At a point, right? Of course, if you're only at the stage where there's a lictor or two, fine, I guess, whatever. But a lictor or two isn't 2,000 points either. Once we get to the wargaming part, that means you are at war, motherfucker. So, I would like to see that what GW did with Battle Line, I guess, I would like to see that become rainbow units where they just have any keyword that they need. For all intents and purposes, they have the keywords because a boy and a knob is integral to orcs. Think that should just be whatever orc clan, quote unquote. If you're a dread mob clan or you are a speed free clan, you get the keyword. And thinking about it, hold on, didn't they do that? Didn't they do that? Wait a second. Hold on. Orcs. Orcs. Mech jobs. What the fuck was it? What the fuck is it? Oh, was it specialist mobs? Close? What am I thinking about? Well, I'm not going to spend too much time on the orcs in Tyranids video, but things like that, yes. And it comes to say, like, yeah, I think I've said it in this take, but I'm just going to do it real quickly because takes got confusing. That's also why this is coming out later because I had a lot of things interrupt. But you know, like while I really like Gorgon, out of if you ask me, like, yeah, which one is your ninth fleet? It's Gorgon, but I really hated Gorgon's color scheme. Have you seen Gorgon's color scheme? Let's not because that might pull up Google and Google might be like, hey, here's your name and location, and let's not do that right now. But you know, I don't want to continue the trend of, well, I'm playing Gorgon, so because all of my things are green, I get you know, reroll one wound roll. I don't want to continue that trend, but it would be nice if Gorgon was a way to come back and things like that. The detachment system as a whole, I don't hate. I don't hate how they did the detachments at all, really. It's the keywords and either the lack of handing them out or the way they were implemented. Where for some factions, such as, like, here's another one, right? Looking at Necrons, I think that the only straight up miss of a detachment, now mind you, now, is Annihilation Legion. But it makes sense because it's the Destroyer Cult shit. That would be pretty cool. But, I say all this that the rest of them, like Hypercrypt Legion, isn't going, hey, if you are a Hypercrypt Legion keyword, you can teleport. Star Shatter Arsenal, if you're a Star Shatter Arsenal one, you could do it. But they realized, GW is realizing, like, hey, people just like detachments where I can put more of my shit in and also do a benefit, right? Now, nothing is stopping you from putting an Exocrine in Vanguard Onslaught. In fact, you can fall back and charge with it. You're not fall backing and charging with an Exocrine 9 times out of 10. I mean, hey, it's better than what you could do right now, a fall back and look stupid. But it doesn't really help much. And then you look at the Vanguard Invaders, and I've talked about this to video. Yes, they all get advanced in charge. But realistically, you don't want a lot of them to do that. So, I say all this that it's pretty nice what they've been doing, but I would really love if GW came back to implementing more flavor across the board and really thought about all the things that they took away and found a way to put them back in. If we're going to look towards 11th edition to be a reset, or a soft reset where like some things carry over from 10th, I would rather that they just do it this way, where there's, alright, I realize that we stripped Tyranids bare of a lot of shit. A lot of shit, right? Let's put it back. And make things unique again enough. I don't want to be playing Crusher Stampede with Hollowed Martyrs rules. That's just why is this not special to me? So I want them to get back to making things flavorful. So I agree completely with Mordian. Go watch this video. For the most part, I think I like widely agree. I don't think there might have been like one or two things that I was like, maybe. Yeah, I think there. Oh, the only thing that I think was maybe was something that was said about the if the game, like, keeping the game fresh. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think everything needs to be a hard reset. I think people can play game systems for much longer and not everything be a hard reset. You could just continue to add new mechanics. Look at my example for that would be Yu-Gi-Oh. The rules of Yu-Gi-Oh hasn't completely changed, more or less. At the end of the day, you need 8,000 points, uh, life points. You're trying to take your opponent's life points down to 0. Cool, right? Now we have had master rules, where it's like, all right, now you need this zone to give extra deck monsters and this, that, whatever. But much in the same, it doesn't have. Do we do a psychic phase or not? Do we do faction secondaries or not? Do we do faction wise second stratagems or not? Like, I don't think everything needs to be refreshed that often to keep things fresh. I think you can just put in new mechanics slowly and change enough to keep it going. So, if you like the video, like it. Got a comment for me, comment. And until next time, peace out, mob monstrosities.